You're sitting across from a realtor who keeps calling it your first home, like it's a starter apartment, but the number on her laptop says $435,000. She's smiling. You're nodding. Your partner is calculating something on their phone under the table. The realtor says you'll upgrade in 5 years, maybe seven, once you build equity. She makes it sound temporary, achievable, like a stepping stone. But that number keeps screaming in your head because you've never seen that much money in your life, and she's calling it a first anything. Sound familiar? That cognitive dissonance between the word first and the number 435,000? The realtor isn't lying exactly. She's just using language designed to make generational debt sound like a reasonable starting point. Yeah, or you leave that meeting feeling simultaneously excited about homeownership and terrified about the next 3 decades of payments. You know something's wrong with calling this a first home, but everyone else seems to think it's normal. I'm going to show you the complete mathematical reality of that $435,000 first home. Not the mortgage payment the realtor quoted, the actual total monthly cost line by line. Then we'll reverse engineer exactly what income you need to afford it without financial suffocation. We'll follow a real household making $85,000 who bought that first home, and I'll show you their complete budget so you can see what affording it actually looks like day to day. Finally, we'll calculate exactly how long you're trapped in this first home and what you're really building toward. By the end, you'll know if you can genuinely afford it or if you're about to lock yourself into 16 plus years of house poverty. Let's start with what everyone gets wrong about that phrase first home. Think about what the word first means in every other context. Your first car, probably used, affordable, something to get you from point A to point B while you save up. Your first apartment, small, maybe not in the best neighborhood, but manageable rent. First implies temporary, modest, a beginning that naturally leads to something better. But the real estate industry weaponized that word. They took first and attached it to $435,000 to a 30-year loan, to the single largest financial commitment most people will ever make. They're calling it first to make you think it's entry level, achievable, something everyone does. But here's what they're not telling you. That $435,000 first home would have been considered a luxury property 15 years ago. Your parents' actual first home in 1995, $140,000. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $270,000 in today's money. The first home price has increased 60% beyond inflation. Wages haven't. Your instinct that something's deeply wrong here? Trust it. The language itself is gaslighting you into thinking generational debt is a normal starting point. So, what does $435,000 actually buy you in today's market? Let me paint the picture 1,400 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, built in 1985. The kitchen has oak cabinets from a renovation someone did in 2003, laminate countertops, carpet in the bedrooms that's matted down in the walking paths. The roof is original, which means you've got maybe 3 years before you're looking at $18,000 in replacement costs. The AC unit makes a noise that the inspector said to monitor. It's located 45 minutes from where you work, because anything closer is 600,000 and up. This isn't a starter home. It's just an old house that costs a fortune, because that's what housing costs now. The realtor will call it charming and move-in ready. What she means is it hasn't been condemned yet and the foundation isn't actively crumbling. Now let's talk about what she quoted you. $435,000 purchase price. You've saved 10% down, which is $43,500. That's years of saving, by the way. Maybe a small inheritance. Maybe wedding money you redirected. You're getting a 7% interest rate because that's where we are in 2026. The bank tells you your mortgage payment will be $2,606 per month. Principal and interest. The realtor writes that number down, 2,606. She says most people can swing that if their household income is decent. She's already mentally counting her commission. But here's where it gets interesting. That $2,606, that's not even close to what this house actually costs you every month. Not even in the same universe. Let me show you the complete cost breakdown line by line, because this is the math that ruins people. Your mortgage payment, principal, and interest, $2,606. That part's real. Property taxes. In most markets, you're looking at about 1.2% of the home's value annually. On $435,000, that's $5,220 per year, divided by 12 months. $435 every single month. The bank collects this in escrow, but it's still your money disappearing. Homeowner's insurance. For a $435,000 home, you're paying about $185 monthly. More if you're in a flood zone or wildfire area. More if the roof is old, which yours is. PMI, private mortgage insurance. Because you put down less than 20%, the bank makes you pay insurance that protects them if you default, not you. Them. That's about 0.5% of your loan amount annually. On your $391,500 loan, that's $196 per month. This doesn't go away until you hit 20% equity, which takes years. HOA fees. Even if you're not in a fancy subdivision, many neighborhoods have these now. Lawn maintenance, snow removal, neighborhood entrance upkeep. $150 monthly is conservative. Some neighborhoods charge $300 or more, maintenance reserve. Here's the one nobody tells you about. Financial advisors recommend setting aside 1% of your home's value annually for maintenance and repairs. That's $4,350 per year, $362 per month. Because the water heater will fail, the dishwasher will die, that roof will need replacing, the fence will fall over in a storm, toilets leak, pipes burst, electrical panels need upgrading. This isn't optional. This is the cost of owning a thing that actively deteriorates utilities, heat, water, electric, gas, trash, sewer. In a 1,400 square foot home, you're looking at about $320 monthly average, more in summer with AC running, more in winter with heat cranking. Added up, really added up. Mortgage, $2,606. OC property tax, $435. Insurance, $185. PMI, $196. HOA, $150. Maintenance reserve, $362. Utilities, $320. Your actual monthly cost of owning that first home is $4,254. Look at that number. Really look at it. The realtor quoted you $2,606. The actual cost is $4,254. That's 63% higher than what you calculated when you decided you could afford this house. That's an extra $1,648 every month that nobody mentioned when you were signing papers. But here's where it gets worse. Remember that down payment? $43,500 you saved. Remember closing costs? You're paying about 3% of the purchase price. That's another $13,050. So to get the keys to this house, you need $56,550 in cash. Your entire savings, gone. Day one. Now you own a house. You have zero emergency fund. And you owe $4,254 every single month before you buy a single item of food. So here's the question nobody wants to answer. What income do you actually need to afford this? Financial advisors say housing costs should be no more than 28% of your gross income. That's the threshold where you can still breathe, still save, still handle emergencies. Let's reverse engineer the math. If $4,254 is 28% of your monthly gross income, then your monthly gross needs to be $4,254 divided by 0.28. That's $15,192 per month. Times 12, that's $182,304 in annual household income. Let that sink in. To comfortably afford the median first home in America, you need a household income over $180,000. But let's be realistic. Most people buying these homes aren't comfortable, they're stretched. Let's drop to 35% of gross income, which is already in the danger zone where financial advisors start using words like house poor and over-leveraged. At 35%, you need $4,254 divided by 0.35. That's $12,154 per month, $145,848 annually. You need nearly $146,000 in household income just to reach the stretched too thin threshold. Not comfortable, not safe, just barely hanging on. Here's the devastating reality. The median household income in America is $74,580. The house being sold as a first home requires double the median American income just to reach financial suffocation levels. not prosperity. Suffocation. Want to see what happens if you try this at actual median income? Let's do the math. $74,580 annually. That's $6,215 monthly gross. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and you're looking at about a 22% effective tax rate. Your take home is $4,847 per month. Your housing cost is $4,254. You have $593 left for everything else: groceries for your family, car payment, car insurance, gas, phone bill, internet, student loans, childcare, health insurance copays, medications, clothing, saving for literally anything. $593. You cannot afford this house. You cannot afford any $435,000 house, but the bank approved you anyway because approval isn't about whether you can actually afford it. It's about whether they think they can collect from you before you default. They call it a first home, but it requires a top 30% income to avoid poverty while owning it. But people buy these houses every day at median income or below. How? Let me show you what that actually looks like. Meet Michael and Jessica Sanders. Combined household income $85,000 annually. That's 14% above the national median. On paper, they're doing better than most Americans. They bought their first home in 2022 for $435,000. The bank approved them. Their parents were proud. They posted the keys on social media with a caption about dreams coming true. Let's look at their actual monthly budget. Monthly gross income, $7,083. After taxes, health insurance premiums, and retirement contributions they had to stop making after month 4, $5,246 take home. Housing costs, mortgage, property tax, insurance, PMI, HOA, maintenance reserve, $4,254. Remaining for all other life expenses, $992. Now let's see what they actually need that $992 to cover. 2 car payments because they both work and there's no public transit, $520. Car insurance for 2 vehicles, $185. Gas for 2 commutes, about 1,200 miles monthly combined, $280. Groceries for 2 adults, $600, and that's shopping sales and buying store brands. Health insurance copays and prescriptions, $150. Cell phones, $90. Internet because Michael works from home 2 days a week, $65. Streaming services, just the basic ones, $35. Student loan payment. Jessica can't defer anymore, $240. Add that up, $2,165 needed. They have $992. They're $1,173 short every single month. On paper, they can afford this house. In reality, they're drowning. Here's how they survive. Jessica's parents help with $400 monthly. They don't call it help, they call it early inheritance, or just until you get established. It's been 3 years. Michael and Jessica put $600 per month on credit cards they cannot pay off. The balance grows. Adam's currently $3,200 and climbing. They defer the student loans whenever possible, in and out of forbearance, watching interest capitalize. When the washing machine broke, $800 went on a credit card. When their daughter needed braces, they set up a payment plan that adds $90 monthly they don't have. When Michael's car needed a new transmission, they borrowed $4,000 from his retirement account and are paying it back with interest to themselves, which means their retirement contribution is now negative. This is what affording the first home looks like for normal people. Not thriving, not building wealth, not saving for anything, treading water while drowning slowly on credit cards, family loans, and deferred maintenance on everything, including their own health. Here's what that actually feels like day to day. It feels like Michael eating ramen for lunch 4 days a week because the grocery budget is stretched so thin that his work lunches got eliminated entirely. It feels like Jessica wearing the same 3 outfits on rotation, with holes in the sleeves she's gotten good at positioning under her cardigan because she hasn't bought clothes in 14 months. It feels like skipping their nephew's birthday party because the $35 gift and gas money to drive there isn't in the budget. It feels like ignoring the check engine light for 3 months and praying it's not serious because an $800 repair would require asking Jessica's parents for help again, and the shame is crushing. It feels like being approved for a house but trapped in a life where you cannot afford to live. Michael and Jessica's housing costs consume 81% of their take home income. 81%. The financial advisor threshold is 28% of gross. They're at 81% of net. They don't have an emergency fund. They're not saving for retirement anymore. They haven't taken a vacation. They're one major emergency away from complete financial collapse. And they're the success story. They're the people who made it work. They own a home, the American dream, right? Now let's talk about what the realtor promised. Remember? She said you'd upgrade in 5 years, build some equity, move to something bigger when the kids come or your income grows. The stepping stone story. Let's run the math on year 5. You've been paying $4,254 per month for 60 months. That's $255,240 you've paid, over $250,000 out of your household's cash flow. Surely you've built substantial equity, right? Here's what actually happened to your loan balance. You borrowed $391,500 after your down payment. At 7% interest over 30 years, your payment is almost entirely interest for the first decade. In year 5, after 60 payments, you've paid down the principal by $51,847. Your remaining loan balance is $339,653. But you want to sell and upgrade. You need to account for selling costs. Real estate agent commission, 6% of sale price. That's $26,100. Closing costs, about another $4,500. Repairs to make the house sellable because you've deferred maintenance, remember? Let's say $8,000 minimum. Total selling costs, $38,600. Your equity calculation, $435,000 sale price, assuming it didn't lose value. Minus $339,653 owed, minus $38,600 in selling costs. Your equity is $56,747. After 5 years of paying $4,254 per month, after paying $255,240 total into this house, you walk away with $56,747. Your down payment was $56,550. Your profit is $197. Over 5 years, you cannot upgrade. You cannot make a down payment on anything better without bringing in outside money from somewhere. The stepping stone doesn't work. The math doesn't work. You need 16 to 20 years of payments before you've built enough equity to actually move to something better. But here's what they never tell you. During those 16 years, your life changes. Your family grows, and that 3-bedroom feels suffocating. Your job relocates, and the 45-minute commute becomes 90 minutes. Your parents age, and you need to move closer to them. Your kid gets into a better school district 30 minutes away. Odd, but you're trapped. The first home becomes the only home because the math never works to leave. The temporary stepping stone becomes a 16-year minimum sentence. And that's if nothing goes wrong, if you don't lose a job, if the market doesn't crash, if the roof holds out. They called it a first home, but they built you a cage. So who profits from this? Who benefits when you sign up for a house you can't actually afford? The realtor earns $26,100 in commission the day you close. Whether you make the payments for 30 years or default in year 3, she already got paid. Her incentive is closing the sale, not protecting you from financial destruction. She has zero stake in your ability to actually afford the next 360 payments. The bank earns $173,000 in interest over the life of the loan, more if you can barely afford it because stretched buyers pay slowly and refi less often. The bank's profit maximizes when you're house poor. They want you making minimum payments for decades. Your struggle is their revenue stream. The mortgage broker gets paid per loan closed. Bigger loan, bigger commission. They get a fee whether you thrive or collapse under the debt. Nobody in this transaction gets paid to tell you the truth, that you can't afford it, that you'll be trapped for decades, that you'll sacrifice financial security, mental health, and life flexibility for ownership. The cultural narrative supports the lie. Your parents, who bought in 1995 for $140,000, think you're being picky when you hesitate at $435,000. They cannot comprehend that the ratio has fundamentally changed. Their house was 3 times their household income. Yours is 6 times yours. The math isn't the same, but they think your caution is a weakness. Media celebrates homeownership without ever showing the budget aftermath. Every home renovation show, every real estate reality series, every financial advice column treats buying as the default success marker. They show the keys, the happy tears, the champagne toast. They don't show month 14 when the credit cards are maxed and you're eating ramen to afford the house. Social pressure treats homeownership as a maturity marker. Renting is portrayed as throwing money away and as refusing to grow up, as lacking ambition. The system has convinced an entire generation that signing up for unaffordable debt is more responsible than waiting until you can actually afford it. The system captures you through aspiration, the promise of the American dream, the idea that home ownership equals stability and success. Then it traps you through debt. 30 years of payments you can't escape. You're not building equity in those first 10 years. You're building the bank's profit center and the realtor's commission check. So here's your warning threshold. If your household income is below $145,000, that $435,000 first home will financially destroy you. You'll be Michael and Jessica Sanders with credit card debt that grows every month despite working full time. You'll be house rich and life poor. Below $180,000, you'll struggle perpetually with no margin for error, no savings, no financial peace. But here's your permission. Let me give you permission to do something radical. You can choose not to play this game. Not buying is not failure. Not buying is financial literacy. It's recognizing that the math doesn't work and refusing to destroy your life to make a realtor's commission. Renting is not throwing money away. Renting is buying flexibility. It's buying the ability to move for opportunities. It's buying freedom from maintenance costs, property tax increases, and being trapped by equity math. If your rent is $2,800 and the true cost of ownership would be $4,200, you're saving $1,400 per month. Invest that difference. Actually invest it. In 15 years, you'll have more wealth than the homeowner who's been trapped and broke. You can wait. Waiting is not weakness. It's recognizing that prices are disconnected from incomes and choosing not to participate in collective financial suicide. Maybe price is correct. Maybe your income grows. Maybe you move to a lower cost area. Waiting is strategy. You can buy something smaller and older at $285,000 instead of $435,000. The cultural pressure says you need 3 bedrooms minimum, updated kitchen, good school district. The math says you need what you can actually afford. 2 bedrooms in a rougher area is smarter than financial destruction in a nice neighborhood. You can rent permanently. That's a valid wealth building strategy. Seriously. If you rent for $2,800, invest $1,400 monthly at 8% returns, in 30 years you'll have $2.4 million. The homeowner who was house poor for decades owns a house worth maybe $700,000 after inflation, but they were broke the entire time and have no other savings. If you cannot afford it without credit card debt, you cannot afford it. If you cannot afford it without family help every month, you cannot afford it. If you cannot afford it without eliminating all discretionary spending and all savings, you cannot afford it. Full stop. The first home is a marketing term designed to make you accept unaffordable as normal, to make $435,000 sound reasonable, to make 30 years of debt sound like a stepping stone, to make financial suffocation sound like success. Your gut instinct that something's wrong, that $435,000 is too much, that the numbers don't work, trust it. You're not being picky. You're not being unrealistic. You're doing math that everyone else is avoiding because the truth is uncomfortable. The trap is real. The math doesn't lie. The system profits from your debt. And walking away, choosing to rent, waiting for something that actually makes sense, refusing to play a rigged game, that's not failure. That's the smartest financial decision you can make. You don't have to call it your first home just because someone else needs their commission check.